Tuesday, July 8, 2025, the bustling coastal city of Xiamen was jolted by a sudden and intense storm system that swept across the region with little warning. Though not classified as a typhoon, the storm brought torrential rain, gusty winds, and widespread disruption, leaving residents scrambling to respond to rapidly deteriorating conditions. By late afternoon, a low-pressure trough intensified over the Taiwan Strait, triggering convective thunderstorms that rapidly evolved into a full-blown squall line. The storm, fueled by residual moisture from Typhoon Danas, which had skirted southeast of the city days earlier, unleashed its fury with little warning, catching residents and emergency services off guard. Meteorological data from the Xiamen Meteorological Observatory recorded sustained winds of up to 70 kilometers per hour, with gusts reaching 90 kilometers per hour in exposed coastal areas. Rainfall totals exceeded 207 millimeters in less than 24 hours, overwhelming drainage systems and triggering flash floods in several districts, including Ximen, Huli, and Jimei. The day began with oppressive heat and hazy skies, typical of Xiamen's subtropical summer. By 2 p.m., dark cumulonimbus clouds began forming over the western horizon. Within an hour, the city was engulfed in a deluge. Streets turned into rivers, and visibility dropped below 200 meters. In the historic district of Ximen, shopkeepers rushed to seal storefronts as water surged through alleyways. "It was like someone turned on a faucet above the city," said Ms. Zhang, a tea merchant near Zhongshan Road. "The rain came so fast, we didn't have time to protect our goods." Lightning strikes were frequent and intense, with over 300 cloud-to-ground flashes recorded between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. One bolt struck a transformer near the Xiamen railway station, causing a brief blackout and halting train services for nearly 2 hours. The storm exposed vulnerabilities in Xiamen's urban infrastructure. Drainage systems, already strained by seasonal rainfall, failed to cope with the sudden influx. Manhole covers burst open in Huli District, and several underpasses were submerged, trapping vehicles and commuters. The BRT, Bus Rapid Transit, system suspended operations on Line 1 and Line 3 due to flooding at key stations. Commuters were forced to wade through knee-deep water or seek shelter in nearby malls and office buildings. Xiamen Gaoqi International Airport reported delays on 22 flights and canceled 11, as crosswinds and lightning made runway operations hazardous. The airport's drainage system was overwhelmed, and water pooled near the tarmac, prompting emergency crews to deploy portable pumps. In Jimei District, residential compounds faced severe flooding. The low-lying community of Xinglin saw water levels rise to chest height in some areas. Residents used inflatable rafts and makeshift boats to evacuate elderly neighbors and children. "I carried my grandmother on my back through the water," said Mr. Huang, a university student. "The elevators stopped working, and the stairwells were dark. It was terrifying." Emergency shelters were quickly set up in local schools and community centers. Volunteers distributed bottled water, instant noodles, and blankets. The Red Cross Society of China dispatched mobile medical units to assist with minor injuries and provide psychological support. The Xiamen Power Grid Corporation reported outages affecting over 80,000 households, primarily in Haizong and Tong'an districts. Fallen branches and flying debris damaged power lines, and technicians worked through the night to restore service. Telecommunication networks also suffered. Mobile data was spotty in flooded zones, and several base stations went offline. Local radio stations became a lifeline, broadcasting emergency updates and shelter locations. Xiamen's coastline, usually a serene stretch of beaches and fishing docks, was battered by storm surge and high waves. In the fishing port of Wuyuan Bay, boats broke free from moorings and collided with piers. The Coast Guard reported 3 vessels capsized, though all crew members were rescued. Galanjiu Island, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was closed to tourists due to landslides and damaged walkways. The island's historic buildings, some dating back to the colonial era, suffered water damage, prompting conservationists to begin emergency assessments. Marine biologists expressed concern over sediment runoff and pollution. The storm flushed urban debris into the sea, said Dr. Li Ming of the Xiamen Oceanographic Institute. This could disrupt coral ecosystems and harm fish populations. Hospitals across Xiamen activated emergency protocols. The second affiliated hospital of Xiamen University treated over 120 storm-related cases, including sprains, cuts, and respiratory issues from mold exposure. Ambulances faced delays due to flooded roads, and some medical teams resorted to using high-clearance vehicles and even drones to deliver supplies. Firefighters rescued 18 people trapped in an elevator in a flooded apartment complex in Tongan. "We're stretched thin, but we're managing," said Dr. Chen Wei, head of emergency medicine. "The community response has been incredible." Preliminary estimates suggest economic losses exceeding 300 million yen, including damage to public infrastructure, private property, and commercial goods. The Xiamen municipal government convened an emergency session and announced a multi-phase recovery plan. Mayor Chani Feng pledged immediate funding for drainage upgrades, road repairs, and support for affected families. "This storm was a test of our resilience," he said. "We will rebuild and we will learn." Urban planners are now re-evaluating flood mitigation strategies, including permeable pavement, green roofs, and expanded retention basins. The city also plans to enhance its early warning systems and invest in AI-powered weather prediction tools. Experts warn that such storms may become more frequent due to climate change. Xiamen's location along the southeastern coast makes it vulnerable to tropical systems and extreme rainfall events. Dr. Wang Jie, a climate researcher at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, noted, "This storm wasn't a typhoon, but its impact was comparable. Warmer seas and shifting wind patterns are amplifying storm intensity." Meanwhile, the center of Typhoon Danas made landfall on the coast of Dongtou District, Wenzhou City, Zhejiang Province at around 9:25 p.m. on Tuesday 8th, with the maximum wind force near the center reaching level 9. The Zhejiang Provincial Meteorological Observatory predicts that from Tuesday night to Wednesday, 9th, daytime, there will still be heavy rainfall in Wenzhou, Taizhou, and Lishui. Among them, the counties, cities, districts in the east of Wenzhou and the south of Taizhou are at risk of heavy rain disasters. It is necessary to take precautions against secondary disasters such as urban and rural waterlogging, mountain torrents in small watersheds, and landslides that may be caused by local heavy rainfall. Affected by Typhoon Danas, many airports in Zhejiang Province canceled flights on the 8th, and a large number of trains were also suspended. Among them, Wenzhou Airport canceled 69 flights, including 45 inbound flights and 24 outbound flights. In addition, all production operations at Wenzhou ports were stopped. All sea passenger routes were suspended. All water-related projects were suspended, and related ships chose safe waters to avoid the wind. The meteorological department said that after Danas landed, it would move westward and weaken. The weakened low-pressure circulation may go deep inland, crossing Fujian, Jiangxi, Hunan, and Guangxi from east to west, and continue to survive for more than 3 days, and eventually weaken and disappear in northern Vietnam. During this period, there will be more rainfall in the eastern part of the northwest, the western part of North China, the Sichuan Basin, the central and eastern parts of Jiangnan, Yunnan, and other places, with moderate to heavy rain in some areas and heavy rain or torrential rain in some local areas. On Tuesday, July 8, 2025, the sprawling mountain city of Chongqing was battered by a sudden and ferocious storm system that brought torrential rain, powerful winds, and widespread disruption across its urban and rural districts. The storm, which developed rapidly over the Sichuan Basin, unleashed its fury on the city's densely populated hillsides and riverbanks, triggering landslides, flash floods, and infrastructure breakdowns. Meteorological data from the Chongqing Meteorological Service recorded rainfall exceeding 180 millimeters in less than 12 hours, with localized pockets receiving over 220 millimeters, particularly in the districts of Wenzhou, Banan, and Jimei. Wind gusts reached 65 kilometers per hour, toppling trees and damaging power lines. The temperature dropped sharply from a sweltering 93 degrees Fahrenheit 34 degrees Celsius to 75 degrees Fahrenheit 24 degrees Celsius as the storm front swept through. The day began with oppressive humidity and hazy skies, typical of Chongqing's subtropical summer. By noon, dark cumulonimbus clouds began forming over the western horizon, and by 2:30 p.m., the first wave of rain hit the city center. Within an hour, the storm intensified into a full-blown deluge. In the bustling district of Yuzhong, commuters were stranded as underpasses flooded and traffic lights failed. "It was like the sky cracked open," said Ms. Liu, a bank clerk who took shelter in a subway station. "The rain was deafening, and water poured down the escalators." Lightning strikes were frequent and intense, with over 400 cloud-to-ground flashes recorded between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. One bolt struck a transformer near the Xiamen Bridge, causing a blackout that affected over 20,000 residents. Chongqing's mountainous terrain made the storm especially dangerous. In the hillside community of Nannan, a landslide buried part of a residential road, trapping vehicles and cutting off access to several homes. Emergency crews worked through the night to clear debris and evacuate residents. In Wenzhou District, a mudslide swept through a farming village, destroying 3 homes and damaging irrigation canals. "The ground just gave way," said Mr. Zhang, a local farmer. "We heard a rumble, and then everything was gone." The Chongqing Geological Survey issued a Level 2 landslide warning, urging residents in high-risk zones to relocate temporarily. Over 1,200 people were evacuated from vulnerable slopes and riverbanks. The storm exposed vulnerabilities in Chongqing's infrastructure. Drainage systems, already strained by seasonal rains, failed to cope with the sudden influx. Manhole covers burst open in shaping the district, and several tunnels were submerged, trapping vehicles and commuters. Public transportation was severely affected. The Chongqing rail transit system suspended operations on lines 2 and 6 due to flooding in underground stations. Buses were rerouted or canceled, and taxis struggled to navigate waterlogged streets. Chongqing Jimei International Airport reported delays on 34 flights and canceled 17, as crosswinds and lightning made runway operations hazardous. The airport's drainage system was overwhelmed, and water pooled near the tarmac, prompting emergency crews to deploy portable pumps. The Chongqing Power Grid Corporation reported outages affecting over 150,000 households, primarily in Banan, Zhejiang and Dongtou districts. Fallen branches and flying debris damaged power lines, and technicians worked through the night to restore service. Telecommunication networks also suffered. Mobile data was spotty in flooded zones, and several base stations went offline. Local radio stations became a lifeline, broadcasting emergency updates and shelter locations. Hospitals across Chongqing activated emergency protocols. the first affiliated hospital of Chongqing Medical University treated over 200 storm-related cases, including fractures, lacerations, and respiratory issues from mold exposure. Ambulances faced delays due to flooded roads, and some medical teams resorted to using high-clearance vehicles and inflatable boats. Firefighters rescued 23 people trapped in an elevator in a flooded apartment complex in Jimei. "We're stretched thin, but we're managing," said Dr. Chen Wei, head of emergency medicine. "The community response has been incredible." The Yangtze River, which snakes through the heart of Chongqing, rose rapidly due to upstream rainfall. Authorities monitored water levels closely, fearing overflow in low-lying areas. The docks at Xiamen were submerged, and ferry services were suspended. In the fishing port of Fuling, boats broke free from moorings and collided with piers. The Coast Guard reported 2 vessels capsized, though all crew members were rescued. Riverfront businesses suffered water damage, and sandbags were deployed to protect storefronts.